Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Vikings Spin. We're back here with another uh, dueling mock draft series here. I'm joined by Purple Code Canada's Mike Castellino once again. Mike, how's it going?
I'm doing very good. How are you doing, Jason?
I'm well. I've been wrestling here with these mock drafts lately. Just all the rumors buzzing around. Um, I took a look at Peter Schrager's latest mock, and he's kind of basing it. He says he's basing his mocks or his mock version here that he just put out off of stuff that he's hearing, not necessarily stuff he would do, but just stuff he was hearing. So it's interesting to look at that and and get some takeaways from it. But I came up with another version here going in a bit of a different direction than I did in the first one. So I'll start mine off here with round one. Um, I didn't do any trades in this one. I think I'm going to do trades in my next version. But so sticking and picking here at 12. In this one, the top cornerbacks were gone. So I went with Jamison Williams, wide receiver, Alabama. 6'2", buck 79. Okay, we know he is game-changing, elite speed. Uh, this guy, the only thing that's causing him to fall out of the top 10 is that ACL injury. Um, but it appears to be on the mend where he'll be ready to go this season. So it's not a concern that he's going to miss the season. So that's why I was comfortable spending a number one pick. I just think that if you put this guy with Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne, it's just going to be unfair for opposing defenses. And it gives the Vikings something to really hang their hat on, as in, okay, we're not just trying to be good on both sides of the ball. We're trying to be great at something that teams can't stop. What are your thoughts?
No, with Jamison Crowder, or sorry, not Jamison Crowder, Jamison Williams. That's funny. That would not be so good of a pick. Jamison Williams at 12th overall, I think would be a very good selection. Now, I know it's not everybody's cup of tea to go receiver this high, considering what we have already in the cupboard. But for me, I like the idea to go receiver at this spot because I really could see a scenario where Stingley, Sauce, and Hamilton aren't there. And I don't think that's crazy to think. If that happens and the Vikings don't trade down or trade up to get a player, yeah, I could very easily see him being a receiver. It's very possible.
Yeah. Well, and so what did you do in your second version here in round one?
Okay, so I went really bold here, just to make that clear. So first overall, no, sorry, first round, 12th overall, the Minnesota Vikings select safety out of Notre Dame, Kyle Hamilton, 6'4", 220 pounds, a PFF grade of 76.1. I know a lot of people don't think he's going to be here, but I'm going to get into more of his pros and cons right here. So versatile, he could play in any scheme or alignment. He is got urgency to his game. He's competitive, plays physical, and he's a smart football player, just like another Notre Dame player that we have at safety. He plays through, and he absolutely obliterates people with his power, just like Harrison Smith. Wouldn't that be fun to pair them up? And some cons with Kyle Hamilton here is his height can be a barrier to change of direction at times because he's 6'4", and he has some room for improvement with pattern recognition and anticipation. What's your thoughts on Kyle Hamilton, Jason, if he was here?
Well, to have two Harrison Smiths is certainly better than one. Um, he does remind me of Harrison Smith a lot, and to get a guy here that's going to will be here long term would be absolutely phenomenal. And we need to prepare ourselves. That's the beauty of these mocks, is we need to prepare ourselves for all of these different situations, because at the end of the day, we don't know who's going to fall, and he just might be there. A lot of people are saying no, there's no chance of him being there, but we really don't know. And him being a safety, safety tends to be undervalued, and I think out of Sauce Gardner, Derek Stingley, and Kyle Hamilton, Hamilton actually has the best chance to fall, in my opinion, just the way
I
the
agree.
values positions. So this guy playing safety could certainly, would not surprise me if he was there.
No, like I said, I fully agree. And the reason why is, like I said, safety is like you said, safety is not a prioritized position. It's really not. He's a rare breed. He's a unicorn to go this high to begin with. So no, I could absolutely see it happening. And I've seen in some mocks where he's around, the Commanders at 11, Seattle at 9, the Jets at 10. So he could absolutely fall a spot or two more, and I wouldn't be shocked. Now, do I think it will happen? No, but it's definitely the most likely scenario from the three at this point.
Absolutely. And since I didn't address the secondary in the first round, I immediately went to it here in the second round with a guy that, in my opinion, is being overlooked a little bit. Even myself was guilty of it earlier in this draft process, but now that I've dived in, Kyler Gordon, cornerback from Washington, he's overshadowed by Trent McDuffie because they're in it's the same school, it's the same position, the same draft class. But Kyler Gordon is a very good cornerback. 6 feet, 194 pounds. He really brings it with his closing speed to get past breakups. His tackling ability is great. Now he only had 2 interceptions in his college career, so that's something that he can probably work on finishing plays a little bit more. But he definitely has that sticky coverage ability. He can play outside. He's got the skill set to go inside if need be. But I think he can be a guy that that can definitely be a starting caliber player in the NFL. Wouldn't be forced into action on the outside right away, but could probably be in the rotation with Patrick Peterson and Cameron Dantzler on the outside, and even back up in the slot to start. But I think he's got a lot of potential.
No, I had Kyler Gordon in my last mock that we did last week. No, I would love that. I'd be more than happy to see it. And like we talked about, there is a very rare scenario that Sauce and Stingley are not there in round 1. Do not reach and force a pick that's not BPA, like the old regime used to do.
Right.
So if I agree. I would love to see a second round corner, and Gordon would make a lot of sense.
Yep, absolutely. Where did you go in round 2?
Okay, pick 46, the Minnesota Vikings select Roger McCreary, cornerback, Auburn. He's got compact playing strength, so he really plays physically. His ability to put a receiver's release in neutral, and he plays the role of an irritant in press man. And the one thing I really thought where that could really help us is that we talked about being multiple. Ed Donaldson talked about that throughout the process during his interview. Or it's not his interview, sorry, during his press conference when he got the DC job in Minnesota. And this is a guy who I think would make a lot of sense. He's 5'11", 189. He had an 89.9 PFF grade. But some cons here on Roger is that he lacks playmaking and tackling length, right? He's only 5'11". Taller receivers, because of that, taller receivers can, play above the rim on him, and needs to improve his foot patience for crafty releases / routes. But I think this is another guy who in the second round would be a good value at 46.
Yeah, I like McCreary. I think he can, I think he's another guy that's inside outside versatility. And, as far as second round corners, he was one of the ones that I like quite a bit. He's also a guy that understands how to use his his hips and read routes pretty well. So that's important for a young corner. So I like that pick there. Absolutely.
Yeah, and one last thing is he had really good tape against Matt Corral, who's potentially a first round pick this year. played pretty well against Alabama. No, I agree. I'd like to see him be part of the Vikings if we don't get a corner at 12.
Yeah,
So what do you got going in the third round?
Yeah, no, I have third round. I went with the offensive line with Dylan Parham. Dylan Parham is a guard slash center prospect out of Memphis, 6'3", 311 pounds. He plays with really great anchor in pass protection. So that was something I was looking for with these interior offensive linemen. Can the guy pass block and anchor? And this guy can do it, but he's also athletic for the zone run blocking scheme. So he pretty much checks all the boxes for what I was personally looking for in interior offensive lineman. Now he played guard in college, but uh, a lot of these scouting reports say that he can probably be an effective center in the pros with his skill set and his ability to hold up in these in one-on-ones in pass protection. That maybe 311 was a little small for a guard, but it's plenty big for a center. So maybe this guy is somebody that they would look at as a long-term piece, at the pivot, even if he doesn't start right away. Maybe Chris Reed starts at center, maybe Chris Reed starts at guard, maybe Dylan Parham could challenge for one of these, either at center or at right guard.
No, I like the pick. I feel that Parham out of Memphis would make a lot of sense. We all know that the Vikings adding depth to the South line is not a bad thing. We've had a lack of that for many, many years. And I look at it, the signings of Jesse Davis, Chris Reed, having Wyatt Davis as a turnover, pick from last season as well in the guard spot. Adding a guy like Parham would, at the very least, finalize that you have depth. And if an injury happens, you're not in big trouble. No, I would like that pick. And I feel that the Vikings better address the interior line by the end of day 2 to solidify it. Let's finish the job, because we all know Kirk Cousins at his best needs to be well protected. And I fully agree with you, Jason. Parham would do a good job of that if he does win the job.
Absolutely. What were you thinking of in round 3?
Okay, so we had a very similar mindset here. So 77th overall, the Minnesota Vikings select Cole Strange, guard, Chattanooga, 86.3 PFF grade. He's 6'5", 307. He has a J.C. Treader comp. Funny enough, wouldn't that be hilarious? We all talked about J.C. Treader this entire offseason. We get a guy whose comp is J.C. Treader. He's got excellent pad level off the snap and beyond. He plays highly intelligent, and he's tough. And one thing that I thought was interesting is he's made for zone scheme with his good lateral movement. Some cons on Cole Strange is lean body type for an NFL guard. Again, he could be a guy similar to Parham who could transition to center. That's another reason why I'd like to have him. Versatility is not a bad thing along the opposite line. Another negatives here is that he uses a wide corralling hands too often in his blocking, and he's got below average core strength and gets jostled at the point of the attack. So, yeah, what's your thoughts on Cole Strange?
I like him. I think if you can coach him to just to be more consistent with low man if you're trying to get those third and shorts, but I think he does from what I've seen, he does a better job of using his leverage than Bradbury does in pass protection. And I think he's just got a little bit more nastiness. Now, I don't know if this coaching staff can get the best out of Garrett Bradbury and cover up his deficiencies. That remains to be seen. So maybe you have a little bit more to work with Cole Strange, and like you said, with the versatility to go between guard and center, the more the merrier in this competition. Let the cream rise. So definitely not a bad idea to add him here.
I agree.
Moving on into the 5th round, I went with Grant Calcaterra, who the Vikings have shown some pre-draft interest in. The tight end out of SMU is 6'4", 241. This is a move tight end. who is a willing blocker, but you know, probably would need to add a little bit of strength to improve in that area at the pro level. His concussion history is what's causing him to drop into day 3, because this guy is a bona fide receiving talent, great ball skills, effective route runner, solid hands, good speed and athleticism, ran 4.6. Could probably be an effective tight end too. It's just his medicals have to check out here, but I think he's worth a flyer in round 5.
Oh, I agree. I think the tight end is a sneaky need for the Vikings potentially, depending on how they end the free agent period after the draft and all sorts of things. But I think that a tight end would make a lot of sense. And if it is just medicals that is going to have him fall to the 5th round, that he is a legitimate receiving option at tight end right day 1, that can help Irv Smith limit his load there, taking less hits and stuff like that. No, I'd be good with that. I think that a tight end in the 5th round, if he's a solid receiving player, is a good value.
Yeah, I figure because they have Johnny Munt, who's the blocking tight end. Ben Ellison is still on the roster. Those are your, pure blocking types. So you need another receiving guy, I think. So I think that would.
I agree, and I think Zach Davison is as good as gone. Like, I think those days are done, right? It was a cool story. He was a punter / tight end, but I think he's finished too. So no, I agree.
Yep.
Okay, so I made a trade now, giving up pick 156 in the 5th round, pick 192 in the 6th round, and pick 250 in the 7th round. And I moved all the way up to pick 127 with the New England Patriots to select Romeo Doubs, wide receiver, Nevada, 6'2", 201, 81.7 PFF grade. He's got good size, speed combination. He posted back-to-back 1,000-yard years. He's labeled by scouts as an alpha, so he plays hard. He's tough. Some cons here on Doubs is that he's limited as a route runner, and he will have trouble, getting off of the release on press coverage. But for me personally, at this point in time, a guy with his production in college, as well as he's also a punt returner. He was a punt returner at Nevada. I don't see why not. If we can get up there and trade up for a receiver, I would do it, because I think that we still have a bit of a need there, more than most people are giving credit for. Yes, we have Justin Jefferson. Yes, we have Adam Thielen. And yes, we have KJ Osborne. But after that, it's a whole lot of really maybes. I mean, Dan Chisena is a good special teamer, but he brings almost nothing in the offensive game, in the receiving game. I think Olabisi Johnson is finished. That's why I think they are going to take a mid-round tight end this year. I think he's done. Yeah, that's my guy, Romeo Doubs, and hopefully he can bring some Dubs to Minnesota.
Yeah, no, he had some good production as a punt returner as well as a receiver. So adding wide receiver depth, especially in an offense that is going to be using more 3 and 4 receiver sets, definitely makes some sense here. So I understand the move up to go get a quality guy, rather than waiting later.
Because for me personally, it's quality over quantity now. Why do we need to keep 3 6s, a 5th and a 7th when we can go up into the 4th and go and get a quality player if he's still available?
Yeah, I mean, in my next mock, I think I'm going to do that. Here, I was sticking and picking, and I did go with a wide receiver / return specialist here in the 6th. This is the first of the Vikings 3 6-round picks with Bo Melton out of Rutgers, 5'11", 189. Melton ran a 4.34 in the 40 at the combine. He's a special teams guy. As a return man, he handled both punt returns and kick returns in college, as well as a gunner. As a receiver, he lined up primarily on the outside at Rutgers, though his size would indicate that he may be an outside guy in the pros. He's a little bit undersized, inconsistent hands, so he's going to need to work on that and getting off of press man more consistently if he wants to be more than a 4th or 5th option. But at worst, the guy's a special teams ace. 4.34 speed is pretty deadly once you get out in the open field. So I think he was worth a shot as a return man.
No, I agree. I think that they do need to fill that void left by D.D. Westbrook because I don't think he'll be back. And no, like I said, I fully agree that we do need to add a receiver that can crack the roster by the end of this draft. I think that it could be as high at 12, depending on the BPA and how the board falls, but it could easily be as low as the 6th round as well. But regardless, they need to bring in a quality player that can produce in some form or fashion because our depth at wide receiver is not fantastic. Yes, I know we have KJ Osborne, but when Osborne stepped in as wide receiver 2 with Thielen went down last year, the production went down. And I think they should definitely get somebody who could produce, even if it's as helping in 3 receiver sets, aside from ISM, it'd be a good option. I'd like that, especially on returner day 1 to win.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you have
So I have 2 6s left.
2 6s left. Okay. What was your next move?
So 6th round, pick 184, the Minnesota Vikings select Malcolm Rodriguez, linebacker, Oklahoma State, 85.7 PFF grade, some pros on him, team captain and brain of the defense at Oklahoma State, plays with a healthy level of suspicion pre-snap, so he has an idea of what's going on, instinctive feel for blocking schemes, and attack points. Some cons on Rodriguez is his measurables are unimpressive. His range in space is very average and below average lateral twitch and agility. But one other positive is that he had a really nice forced fumble versus Boise State on tape. And I think this is a guy who he has a lot of talent and he's a very bright guy, but his measurables are going to really move him down the board. And those are the type of guys you can get steals on in the NFL draft. So Malcolm Rodriguez, I think in the 6th round, can't lose.
Yeah, with a 3-4 defense, now that you have, it's when you're drafting an inside linebacker now, it's more of you're looking for the tackling and the awareness and instincts more than having to have this sideline to sideline range. Because if you're running a 4-3, your middle linebacker has to be very fast. But if you're running a 3-4, you just want a solid tackler because he's got plenty of help on the flanks and he's got another inside linebacker right next to him. So it's not as much ground to cover. So yeah,
I
understand the linebacker type. It's a good fit in this defense.
All right, what do you got next pick?
The next pick I went with, so the second of the 3-6 that I had here, I went with Cordell Volson. He played offensive tackle at North Dakota State. His scouting report lends that he might have guard flexibility or a swing tackle. Probably level of competition may need an adjustment, but he's 6'6", 315 pounds, has the body type and athletic profile to play in this scheme, I think. So he may need a little bit of time to develop his game, but those kind of his athletic traits, I think, are what this staff might be looking for as a developmental utility guy.
No, I like this. Like I said, I think that it wouldn't shock me if they drafted their own guy to be a swing tackle. I think that Blake Blundell and, Rashad Hill's gone now. At the end of the day, they could definitely go with a guy to grow on their, homegrown swing tackle. I could absolutely see it. It would make a lot of sense. At the same time, at the end of the day, right, 6th round, we all know you're just trying to find a guy who could squeeze into the roster potentially, or if not, practice squad. So, no, I'd be okay with that.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly what my thoughts were on him.
100% agree. Okay, my last pick here. The Vikings actually have looked at him at his pro day and stuff. So, Eize Tumawu, defensive end, University of Minnesota, 6'5", 285, 79.4 PFF grade, keeps his motor running throughout the rush. He shows understanding of rush angles, and he's attentive to pad level on the move. For me, this is a guy who was a peer special teams guy day one, and this is the big reason why. Disappointing. So in this cons here, disappointing career production for his physical profile. Comes forward with straight-legged charge that is too easy to stop, and below average playmaking range as an end, which is why I could actually see him converting it to defensive tackle, put a little bit of pounds on him, because he does have a motor that doesn't stop, put a little bit of weight on that frame. Maybe he could become a very solid depth piece to this defense down the line. I mean, at the end of the day, we're looking at traits here in special teamers at 6th round. So there you go.
Yeah, that reminds me of James Lynch. He was a defensive end in college, but in the pros, he's put on a little bit of weight to do the pass rushing nose tackle or, slash 3 tech. The Vikings are going to use a combination of 3-4 and 4-3. So a guy like that could play 5 tech, he could play 3 tech. So, none of those guys like, James Lynch or Jalen Twyman are really guaranteed anything. So to have another guy compete with them, why not?
Yeah. And the way I look at it is, if he doesn't work out, the 6th round, you're just throwing darts at the dartboard, hoping it sticks on the board. So at the end of the day, it's very difficult to hit at this point of the draft. So Kwesi can come out with 2 day 3 picks that are players on the 53. That's a win. Like, especially they trade up,
right,
to get a guy in the 4th round. I'd be more than happy with that.
Yep. I have 2 more here. I have the final 6th and then the 7th. This final 6th round pick is a guy that you did in your last mock. I just took him here. Is Marquand McCall, the nose tackle. Out of Kentucky, mammoth, 6'3", 342, 2-down run stuffing, space eater. I think this is a thing that they need to do, is to get a pure backup nose tackle, because they have a lot of guys that are 5 tech or 3 tech types, and I think they need that pure nose tackle body type. And I was impressed with what I saw from McCall, especially here at this point in the draft. And my last pick here in the 7th round is James Skalski, a linebacker out of Clemson, 2-year team captain, first team all ACC selection, led his team in tackles, was an all ACC selection 3 times in college. He's a quarterback of the defense, uses awareness and ability to diagnose. Not a jump out of the box athletic profile, but 6 foot 240, more of that stout inside linebacker type, sure tackler who might be able to find a home on special teams or on the practice squad while he adjusts. So that's how I rounded it out.
All right, so I'll give my quick reflection on both. McCall, I like that take that he could definitely be a backup 3 tech. And this is the thing with McCall that I think the big reason why he will be available in the 6th round is he has no pass rushing ability. So if you literally just throw him on in 3rd down and 1s and 3rd and 2s to stop the run, he'll be fantastic for you. And he's a big beast of a man. He'll take up a lot of space, and that would free up Harrison Phillips or, Delvin Thompson, whoever he's playing next to. I think it would be a very solid pick in the 6th round, because even if at the very least he is just a fantastic run stuffer in the NFL, he's going to get paid a ton of money, because today's day and age, guys like that are a dying breed. It is so hard to stop the run today's generation. So if he could just be a guy who takes up 2 men, constantly and stops the run, he'll get paid a ton of money down the line. And the linebacker for Clemson, I think, is a very similar idea to Malcolm Rodriguez that I took, where, team captain, good leader, plays hard, good statistics, and, relies a lot on his instincts. And I think that having an instinctual linebacker that late in the draft, you can't lose. If he makes the roster, it's, a cherry on top of the sundae.
Yeah, that's what this is. Like, looking at the Vikings defense last year, it was 4.7 yards per carry that they're allowing. So I think, this whole move to incorporating 3-4 and going with these bigger defensive linemen and more linebackers to get up there, and these like stout, maybe not the fastest guys, but they're stout, they're sure tacklers. you know, because you already have the speed with Kendricks. You need that stout guy that's because you want to replicate the guy they signed that plays next, Jordan Hicks. You want to
Yep.
replicate Jordan Hicks' skill set with these backups. So
No, I agree. I think that that would be a great way to end the draft. And this is the luxury the Vikings have is they're not pigeonholed into having to reach on positions, but they can spend their day 3 picks on depth, and that's a good thing. You shouldn't be forcing yourself into taking, defensive tackles or linebackers or safeties to start and push for a starting job after being picked in the 4th or 5th round. That's poor roster building for me. That's why I really have enjoyed what Quessie's done is they're in a position where they can just add guys for depth that are going to work hard, are going to play hard on special teams and work for a roster spot. And that's a great thing all around.
yeah, absolutely. I'm really impressed with the way he approached free agency. You know, especially bringing in those two interior offensive linemen. You know,
Yep.
really helped there. Bringing back Patrick Peterson. You know, so he went beyond really the early stuff, which was in the early going, he's just trying to improve the roster by bringing in Zadarius Smith, um, and
Harrison Phillips.
yeah, Harrison Phillips and Hicks. But then these other signings to kind of eliminate that glaring need, re-signing Peterson and bringing the two interior linemen was really smart and allows us to do some of the things that we like to do in the draft.
No, I agree. And they even signed Julian Taylor from former San Francisco 49ers 7th round pick this week,
Right.
where he's another guy who's going to fight hard for a roster spot. And it's shown in the NFL level before his ACL injury. That's the only reason why he's been available so many years and hasn't played since 2019 is he's a guy who has been a great rotational piece for San Fran 18 and was playing for them in 2019, the year they went to the Super Bowl. So he can be a good reclamation project. There you go. It fills another need in having to spend a 7th or 6th rounder on a, depth guy who can get some pass rush ability. I really have been impressed by Quincy. I really have.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, that wraps up this mock draft. It's yeah, I mean, where are we now? Just a couple weeks away.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, it's I keep vacillating between different concepts on how to approach it. What I'm really going back and forth on is the whole wide receiver cornerback thing, just because of the way these prospects, where the Vikings are picking, where the value is. That appears to be where the most value is around pick 12. Would you agree?
I absolutely agree. That's been the same problem that I've had is, I've had my head spinning thinking, is there somehow we could trade up for Sauce or Stingley? Can they get there to 9 or 8 to where we could give up a 3rd and a 5th and move up there and just say quality over quantity? I don't know, but it's for me, I agree with you. That's the same problem is will one of those cornerbacks be in range to even trade up for? It's like, guys, I could see Stingley and Sauce going so high to where Minnesota can't even attempt to try to trade up for them. And then you're in a really interesting position where every receiver could be available. What would you do? It's going to be a fun couple of weeks speculating. You really will be.
Absolutely. Well, we thank you guys all for tuning in to this dueling mock draft edition version 2 here with Mike and myself. So till next time, we'll see you again. Take care.
Cool.